Trial version.
Okay, so to start with, I would like to ask everyone to turn off
Trial
their
version.
microphones and to be at their solemn attitude as we begin with our invocation, later to be followed by the singing
Trial
of the
version.
Philippine National Anthem, which will be played through AVP.
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
Wala.
Trial version. Trial version.
Ah, wala ko na-report yung ganun.
Trial version.
Oo, pa-record yung sugod ba?
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
Chat lang isa. Mag-record yun. Ano naman eh?
Trial version.
Sa Gmail.
Ah,
Hindi siya pa-share rules sa Gmail.
Trial version.
Basig ang
Ikan siya
phone
sa
good.
netdaan.
Ayun.
Trial version.
I-co-host ko dito.
Trial version.
I-co-host ko kay Apple Play.
Ha?
I-assign ko co-host kay Apple Play.
Ah,
Trial
sorry.
version.
I-click ko itong ako ang pangalan.
Trial version.
Taas ko na. Directly.
Trial version.
Birthday na. Saan ko na? Host control.
Trial version.
Host settings.
Trial version.
Ako na here. Ayun ko.
Trial version.
Ang lagi.
Trial version.
I-stop ka na sa mga. Stop share ko.
Ah, unsa i-share?
I-share ako ng
Trial version.
technical player para na-review paganoon nila. Stop ka.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Ana. So, sunod ano eh.
Ulo pang hinira.
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
Ikaw ka? Ikaw ka dahil ito?
Trial version.
Sa?
Hindi na.
Oh, namahon ko. Mahon pa daan. Bujoin na to si
Trial
Kuya. Matanda
version.
gabi. Kita mo siya si Madeira ba? Si Putot God, si Jose.
Oo.
Bujoin na siya. Wala ko nga.
Trial version.
Nanghit lang ko kay Sir Kram eh. Kay Sir Kram ang good eh.
Trial version.
Napawas Madeira? Pila pa to?
Trial version.
Naman na siya, tapos bagsakan eh.
Kita na ako
Maligya daw
sa'yo.
siya.
Trial version.
On ni mo yung wifi?
Ha?
Gi-on ni mo yung wifi?
Wala.
Trial version.
Sige lang, nakakulong ko niya. Back up na. Ano may land day 3?
Trial version.
Sige lang, kusuko ka man. Kunya lang eh, kung mag-trouble. Kaya
Trial version.
Basta wala lang download doon.
Bakit kita ako dito?
Kung may lang nakakuha ang Node 0 no?
Trial
Wala
version.
Wala nakatagiyan eh.
Wala po nang kita ako dito.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Unstable.
Mo na yung problema sa Gmail.
Trial version.
Ano naman?
Dapat uploaded tanan ang mukhang kuhaan sa web. Di ka ka-share ang audio mong god.
Trial version.
So, pwede rin yung tayo ito pre-recorded, no?
Pwede rin ta.
Trial version.
Upload din mo siya sa kuhaan. Upload din mo siya sa...
Upload kayo.
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
At this moment, let me now introduce our
Trial
first
version.
speaker for this morning. He is one of my best colleagues
Trial
in
version.
MAST. I consider him also as one of the most versatile instructors that I've known. A
Trial
very
version.
gifted instructor, we may say, and one of my good friends. He graduated in one of the prestigious schools,
Trial version.
the MSU, Mindanao State University at Iligan Institute of Technology, with a bachelor's degree in
Trial version.
Bachelor of Science in Computer Engineering. He also has an NC2 on Computer
Trial version.
System Servicing. He also finished his master's degree in Master in Information Management at University
Trial version.
of Southern Mindanao, Tabacan, North Cotabato. He also passed the licensure examination for
Trial
teachers
version.
in 2017 with a remarkable passing rate of 88.4%.
Trial version.
He is also a member of the RQUAT, or the Regional Quality Assessment Team,
Trial version.
on the Commission on Higher Education. He is also the former Vice President for
Trial
Academic
version.
Affairs from 2017 to 2018 at North Valley College Foundation Incorporated. He is
Trial
also the
version.
former Program Head of the CIT Department of NVCFI from 2014 down to
Trial version.
2018. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our speaker for this morning's activity,
Trial version.
Engineer Jerry Paulo S. Oriente. Sir Jet, you may now take over.
Trial version.
Good morning to each and everyone. Thank you for attending this
Trial
webinar.
version.
Hopefully you'll be able to learn something from me this morning about systems
Trial version.
administration and IT infrastructure services. Let me just check. Can everybody hear me? Please
Trial version.
comment na lang po dun sa ating chat box if you can still hear me. Kasi we cannot really take control of the signal.
Trial version.
Okay, so thank you. No?
Trial version.
Good morning po sa lahat ng nasa North Valley and as well as the students
Trial
of,
version.
our dear MISD. Okay, so
Trial version.
this morning,
Trial
I
version.
Feel so, excuse me, I feel siguro a bit nervous na rin on,
Trial
on
version.
presenting this topic on systems administration and IT infrastructure services. This
Trial
topic
version.
is basically the foundation on which web development and as well
Trial
as
version.
systems development is anchored on. No? So systems administration. Systems administration is a very broad topic.
Trial version.
And I think we will be able to discuss
Trial version.
a few portions of systems administration and as well as IT
Trial version.
infrastructure services. Okay, so to start with,
Trial version.
let's proceed with our slides. Okay, can everybody hear my? Can everybody
Trial
see
version.
my slides?
Trial version.
Okay, so thank you.
Trial version.
Okay, systems administration. Okay, so systems
Trial
administration
version.
or system administration has a lot of subtopics, which includes network
Trial version.
administration, systems development, and as well as database administration. So when you talk about systems
Trial version.
administration, okay, it is a field in IT that's responsible for maintaining reliable computer
Trial version.
systems in a multi-user environment. So multi-user environment, this means that we are implementing a
Trial
network
version.
of computers and as well as servers in an organization. So basically, multi-user environment
version.
refers to the different login levels of the different users of your network. So
Trial
computing
version.
and systems administration is not only confined with managing
Trial
a
version.
database, it also forms part of managing the entire infrastructure
Trial version.
as a whole. Okay? So, sino ba yung tinatawag nating nagmamanage in a
Trial
systems
version.
administration or in a systems administration department? So basically, we call those people
Trial
as
version.
the systems administrator. So when you talk about systems administrator, we oftentimes refer to them as
Trial version.
sysads or sysadmins.
Hindi mapil, sir.
Sysadmins are those, usually
Trial
they are
version.
the unsung heroes in an organization because we cannot really see them on the front
Trial
lines,
version.
but rather they are working behind the systems that are being used by the frontline users. So systems administrators
version.
have diverse set of roles and responsibilities which range from configuring servers,
Trial version.
monitoring the network, provisioning, or setting up new users in a network, and much more. Okay?
Trial
so
version.
think of a systems administrator as a tech generalist. No? Kumbaga, sa buong organization,
Trial
they are
version.
the ones who keeps the organization up and running. So, ibig sabihin
Trial
kasi,
version.
when you look at a systems administrator, ang makita lang mo
Trial
sa
version.
office itself. But you cannot really see them na kanang roaming around because they are just there monitoring
Trial version.
the system. System not only pertaining to computers but the operation of the whole organization
Trial
or
version.
company as well. Okay? So, yun po sila systems administrator. Now,
Trial version.
before we go into the details of systems administration or sysadmin,
Trial version.
we keep on talking about systems. Now, what are the systems that we are talking about when we speak of systems administration?
Trial version.
So, in an organization or in a company, most of the computers, most of the
Trial
users
version.
or the employees are using telephones, they are using intercoms, they are using computers,
Trial version.
they are using routers, modems, they are using switches, hubs. So those are the systems
Trial
that we are
version.
talking about, which includes both the software, the hardware components, and as well as the services
Trial
that is
version.
being offered by the organization. And we call them as a whole, no? These systems are called IT
Trial version.
infrastructure. So IT infrastructure, which encompasses the software, the hardware, the
Trial
network,
version.
and services required for the organization to operate in an enterprise IT environment. So when we talk
Trial
about
version.
systems administration, we are referring to administration of the whole
Trial
IT
version.
infrastructure that the organization has. So ibig sabihin, any company that has an IT presence,
Trial version.
there is such thing as systems administration. Okay? So yun po yung
Trial
talagang
version.
core concept ng systems administration. Ano ba yung kailangan natin i-administer? Ano bang kailangan natin i-monitor?
Trial
It is
version.
the IT infrastructure.
Trial version.
Okay.
Trial version.
Okay. So, systems administrator are the ones who control the
Trial version.
organization's IT presence. So, sysadmins can have different roles like network administrators or
Trial
database
version.
administrators. So, ibig sabihin, pag sinabi nating network administrator, pwede din siyang ma-refer natin as a systems
Trial version.
administrator or sysadmin. So, hindi lang po sysadmin pag sinabi natin sysadmin, yun talaga yun.
Trial
Na
version.
It has a lot of different roles na pwedeng i-play ng isang systems administrator or
Trial
systems
version.
admin. So, pwede siyang going back again, no? To server. Server, again, is can either be a web server,
Trial
a file
version.
server, or anything that provides resources or contents to clients. It can either be on the
Trial
local
version.
host or local server, or be it in a web server. So another example of a
Trial
server is an email server which provides email service to other machines. So most likely,
Trial version.
an example of a mailing server is your Google, no? So Gmail rather. Gmail is an example
Trial
of
version.
an email server in which you can send emails from different
Trial
email
version.
addresses. So another thing is the SSH server, or your secure shell
Trial
server,
version.
also serves SSH service to other machines. So this forms part of the encryption
Trial version.
between connections of different machines. So yun po yung mga context
Trial
pertaining to servers. So here is an example, no? Client machines that use the services provided by the
Trial version.
server. So we call those machines that acquire resources or
Trial
contents
version.
from the server, we call them as clients. So clients request the services from a server, and in turn the
Trial
server responds with these services. So here in the diagram, if you can look at it, so
Trial
we have
version.
a mailing service to a certain client. We have SSH services that are given to clients
Trial version.
as well. Okay? Server should be running 24/7, so anybody can access its contents anytime.
Trial
But that
version.
doesn't mean that your system's administrator should also be awake for 24/7.
Trial version.
So there are a lot of software tools which they can use for them to monitor, no? Monitor. We call those
Trial version.
bug or ticketing softwares. So they try to gather all those possible
Trial version.
bugs or possible errors that may occur during the
Trial
24/7 running of your server. So servers, if you look at servers, they can be of different types.
Trial
So
version.
servers can be of tower type, no? Kaso nga lang, tower type, medyo malaki yung kailangan mo na
Trial
space.
version.
Okay lang if you have one tower which runs, let's say, 9 services. Okay? 9
Trial
network
version.
services. But if you have one tower server for a certain service, then
Trial
kung
version.
kailangan mo ng 10 servers, then you might as well have 10 tower servers.
Trial
Pero
version.
merong mas maliit, we call it rack servers, this one. Okay? So itong rack na to, you can have
Trial
multiple
version.
servers in one rack. So if you look at a server rack, you can have say 9 servers in one rack,
Trial version.
or 10 servers in one rack. Then if you really want a smaller space, then you could use blade servers. Most of the
Trial
companies are using blade servers. Yun nga lang, if you go to some industries, basically located
Trial
siguro,
version.
pinakamalapit sa atin na IT hub is Cebu City. So if you go to Innodata, they're using blade servers. So blade servers
Trial
usually occupy lesser space than rack or tower servers.
Trial
Okay?
version.
But nowadays, new technology has been developed because pag sinabi kasi natin tower, rack, or blade server,
Trial version.
pag nag-install ka ng server, it should be one server, you have one mouse, one keyboard per server. But
Trial
nowadays,
version.
they're using the so-called KVM switch, which contains keyboard, video, and mouse that is being used to
Trial
control
version.
multiple computers or servers using a single mouse and keyboard. So, ibig sabihin, controlling multiple number of
Trial
servers
version.
can be done using only a single mouse and keyboard. So, ito po yung tsura ng isang KVM switch. Okay? So, if you notice, you
Trial
have a lot
version.
of outputs here or inputs from different servers. Tapos yung mouse niya and keyboard is just
Trial version.
isa lang po, no? So you can make use of that. So mahihirapan ka rin kasi kung kailangan mo ng malaking space,
Trial
then you
version.
might be reduce the number of hardware devices that you have. Okay?
Trial version.
So one good thing about the implementation of servers is that meron
Trial
tayong
version.
tinatawag ngayon na cloud computing. So cloud computing does not necessarily mean na yung clouds na nakikita nyo doon na palutang
Trial
listahan.
version.
Cloud is a network of servers that store and process our data. Okay? If you look at
Trial version.
how a cloud is formed, cloud computing is formed using
version.
several data centers. So these data centers
Trial
are
version.
facilities that stores hundreds or if not thousands of servers. So before, we used to do this.
Trial version.
Meron tayong isang computer unit, okay, in which we store our files on its
Trial version.
hard disk drives or hard drives. But nowadays, we store everything on a cloud. So anong
Trial
advantages? When we store everything on a cloud, then we can access all our resources or our data anywhere,
Trial
anytime, as long as we have our internet connectivity. Okay? So yun lang yung isang requirement talaga. We should have
Trial version.
we should have an internet connectivity. So for cloud computing to happen, you should have a
Trial
client
version.
computer, then you have a file storage service. Examples of your file storage service is your Google
Trial
Drive
version.
and your Dropbox. So I think everybody who has Gmail accounts have
Trial
Google
version.
Drive. So Google Drive is an example of a cloud file storage service in which your files will be stored
Trial
on
version.
data centers of Google. Okay? So ano pang advantages na meron sa cloud? Cloud, if you have
Trial
file
version.
storage service that your files are stored on that data center, kung ano man yung data center na
Trial
pinaglagyan
version.
mo. Okay? All of the security updates, server hardware, and as well as software updates, sila na po yung
Trial
bahala
version.
nun. The only thing that you can do is save and retrieve your files. Okay? Yun lang. The
Trial
pros and
version.
cons of using the cloud should also be considered. Total. Okay? So,
Trial
cloud,
version.
the drawbacks of using your cloud, okay? First is the
Trial
cost.
version.
Okay? Ito yung tinitingnan nating pros and cons. If you have if you have to set
Trial
up
version.
your own server, meron kang physical server, yung cost niya, starting cost medyo
Trial
malaki.
version.
Ano? Kasi nga, bibili ka ng hardware, you will be the one to maintain, you will do the continuous routine
version.
updates of the software that you will be installing. Pag cloud naman, the starting cost may be smaller. But in long
Trial
term,
version.
cost could add up since you are paying a fixed amount every month. So, ibig sabihin, you are using
Trial
the facility of that certain file storage
Trial version.
facility na ginagamit nila in the cloud. So, magbabayad ka in the long term. So, with that,
Trial
mas
version.
magkakaroon ka ng malaking cost kasi nga, every user in your organization should have the account and you
Trial
will be paying
version.
for each of those. So, unlike if you have your own server, physical server, the
Trial
only thing
version.
that you will do is buy the hardware, then ikaw na bahala mag-maintain. Another drawback for cloud is
Trial
dependency.
version.
Okay? So your data is held in these platforms, and if there's an issue with the service, someone other than
version.
you is responsible for getting it up and running again, and that could cost your company loss of productivity and data.
Trial version.
So basically, pag nag-down ang imuhang cloud service na imuhang i-avail, then most likely,
Trial version.
nakadepende ka kanus-an nila i-put up back and running ang imuhang service. Okay? So even
Trial
though
version.
that they are the ones responsible, still, ikaw man ang nag-purchase then you will be also responsible of doing so.
Trial version.
One good thing to do when you are acquiring cloud services is that you should have your own backup for
Trial
those
version.
data that you will be having to store on those cloud. So dapat na po kayo imong backup.
Trial
So, every
version.
now and then you should do routinary backups so that if that service will fail, then most likely
Trial
you
version.
could still have data that could be used for your company to run again. So ang
Trial
purpose
version.
lang naman nato sa atong cloud is that ma-lessen ang atong gasto sa hardware, but technically an investment
version.
of your hardware facility is much better than that of the cloud. But it still is
Trial version.
it still depends on what type of organization and business you have. So hindi naman ibig sabihin na pag
Trial
cloud
version. Trial version.
Tama din alas 12 kini mo man ba.
Kasulod ng pamala
Trial
man.
version. Trial version.
Okay, can you hear me?
Trial version.
Okay. So
Trial version.
again, the cloud or the comparison between the cloud
Trial
and the
version.
hardware component of your infrastructure would depend basically
Trial
on the
version.
type of organization
Nakashare na.
that you are running.
Nakashare na.
Trial version.
Okay. Are you seeing my presentation?
Trial version.
Nakikita po ba? Okay.
Trial
Thank you.
version. Trial version.
Okay. Next, since we
Trial
already
version.
know the works or tasks, the
Trial
systems
version.
administrator, then we have discussed about servers. Now,
Trial
what are
version.
the systems administration tasks that a systems administrator usually do?
Trial
Okay.
version.
So, one aspect of the job of
Trial
a
version.
systems administrator is organizational policies or crafting organizational
version.
policies. Here are some of the questions that would arise when developing organizational policies.
Trial version.
Okay? Kasi isa sa pinaka-crucial na part ng isang systems administration
Trial version.
is taking into consideration the organizational policies that would not affect the operation of the whole
Trial version.
organization. So first, we have here, should users be allowed to install software?
Trial version.
Basically, hindi po. So, organizational
version.
policies should be strict in terms of software
Trial
installation.
version.
Because if you will allow your employees or your users to install
Trial version.
whatever software they want to install, there is a possibility that they could install a
Trial
malicious
version.
software. So, mahihirapan ka pa nun, no? Masisira pa yung
Trial
buong
version.
infrastructure mo. Especially, software po yung i-install. So, most likely,
Trial
to
version.
limit malicious software that could enter your server, that could enter your infrastructure.
Trial version.
So, installation should only be done by the systems administrator,
Trial version.
administrator and his or her staff. Another question that could arise is,
Trial
should
version.
users have complex passwords with certain requirements? So, most
Trial
likely,
version.
ang pinakamainam na gawin when you have to do you have to put
Trial
passwords is, ang ginagawa naman natin, we have a symbol, a number, and a letter.
Trial version.
So, it may be a combination of those. So, if you look at some websites, pag
Trial
pinapagawa ka
version.
ng password, they usually limit to a minimum of
Trial
8
version.
characters, 6 to 8 characters. But oftentimes, umaabot pa ng 10 characters,
Trial
which
version.
are combinations of letters, numbers, and special characters.
Trial version.
Okay. Another one is, should users be allowed to view non-work related websites
Trial
like
version.
Facebook? Okay. Ito yung isang pinakamalaking usually na
Trial version.
ginabutang din nato sa itong mga policies. Okay. Facebook,
Trial version.
nauubos yung time ni employee, ni worker
Trial
pag
version.
nagpi-Facebook, no? It depends on the organization. There are those organizations
version.
that they allow non-work related websites during breaks.
Trial version.
Namagit na yung break siguro, maybe lunch break and so on and so forth. But after that certain period of
Trial
time,
version.
na-close na po nila na siya. So, tagaan lang nila enough time ang ating
Trial
users
version.
to open non-work related websites. Okay? Another one
Trial
is,
version.
if you hand out a company phone to an employee, should you set a device password? Of course.
Trial
Kailangan
version.
po. It is because oftentimes kaning ato mga devices,
Trial version.
cellular phones, employees lost them. So, mga wala.
Trial version.
So, if there is no password set on those devices, then most
Trial
likely
version.
it could cause leak of information.
Trial
No? Kasi
version.
na-open ng makapulot, no? Potential loss of information for
Trial version.
the company. So here, these are some of the
Trial
policies
version.
na tinitingnan when it comes to organizational
Trial version.
policies. Kung ikaw po yung systems administrator. Okay?
Trial version.
So another job or task of a systems analyst or systems
Trial version.
administrator rather is IT infrastructure services. Okay? So ano bang
Trial
tinitingnan for IT infrastructure services? We look at file storage. Trabaho
Trial
yun.
version.
Email and web content if you are doing a website or kung namoy web content
Trial
na
version.
website ng organization. Another task of a network administrator is getting network
Trial version.
access. Okay? Dapat tanan empleyado na asya network access. So everybody
version.
should be given accounts and as well as different levels of
Trial version.
logins kada account. Okay? Securing connections to websites and other computers. Obviously,
Trial
sa isang
version.
organization, all computers are under the systems administrator.
Trial version.
Managing services doesn't just mean setting them up. Okay, they must be updated routinely,
Trial
patch
version.
for security holes, and make compatible computers within the organization.
Trial version.
Oftentimes, we usually clone, no? Gina-clone lang man siya kung dinaghan na sa
Trial
mga
version.
computers. Okay lang kung nakaipulo ka computer, isa-isa ko na mo nag-install, okay lang. But
Trial
most
version.
of the large organizations, they usually tend to clone one
Trial
computer.
version.
Kung anong laman ng isang computer, yun din yung laman ng iba. It is a standardized job,
Trial
no, for the
version.
systems administrator to make images,
Trial
no?
version.
Images of different computers na pareho lang sila o sulod.
version.
Updating routinely on all possible updates, both hardware and software
Trial
updates,
version.
kinahanglan, trabahuon ko na siya sa systems administrator.
Trial version.
Okay? Another task of systems administration is user and hardware provisioning.
Trial
Okay?
version.
Systems administrators must be able to create new users
Trial
and
version.
give them access to their company's resources. Okay? Sysadmins are also responsible for user
Trial
machines.
version.
Okay? Sysadmins should also be aware of the hardware life
Trial
cycle. So
version.
basically, pag naay mga bagong empleyado, they usually are the ones who create new user
Trial
accounts.
version.
Similarly, they are the ones to provide each user a
Trial
machine.
version.
So pag nagbigay ka ng machine sa isang user, basically, kompleto
Trial
na
version.
siya. Kung mag-provide ka og system unit, dapat buong set ng computer na yan. All software
Trial
that are
version.
needed for the job should also be there. And at the same time,
Trial version.
hindi lang po job ng systems administrator ang magbigay ng user machines, but as well
Trial
as
version.
users,
Gamay naman eh.
systems administrator
Wala.
are the ones to
Trial
take
version.
out the machines also pag si user mag-retire na or mag-resign na. No?
Trial
So
version.
buhaon po niya tong unit. Those units are only made for, are only given for the
Trial
job,
version.
basic job of the employee. So kung muhawa na sa employee, most likely,
Trial
the
version.
machines will also be taken
Kani,
from
ang gamitin
them.
na.
Yang i-format, i-empty niya kay
Trial
para
version.
kung nanapoy bag-o nga mosulod sa organization, mo na po ito yang i-hatag. So it should be
Trial
empty, no? Wala on din yung totalan contents and himuon na po niya nga murag bag-o.
Trial
Para kung
version.
nanapoy ma-hire, then most likely that unit will still be given to that newly hired
Trial
employee.
version.
So sysadmins should also be aware of hardware life cycle. Ano ba yung hardware life cycle?
Trial
Ito po yun.
version.
Okay? Procurement is the first stage of the hardware life cycle. It is
Trial version.
where or when the hardware is purchased for the use of the employee. So bibili ka ng
version.
hardware, bibili ka ng computer, that's procurement. Another stage is the deployment,
Trial
which is
version.
the hardware is set up to the employee, so the employee can do their job. So pag si-set up mo siya,
Trial
most
version.
of the software na kailangan ng empleyado dapat nandun na. Another thing is maintenance. This
Trial
is the third
version.
stage of the hardware life cycle. Software is updated and hardware issues are
Trial
fixed
version.
when they occur. So maintenance po yun. And lastly, we have the retire and need to be removed from the fleet of computers. So ibig sabihin, unserviceable na
Trial
din siya, tagalo na nimo na. Imuha na nang ibutang dito sa ato ang archive or sa atong storage facility.
Trial
So,
version.
that's the life cycle of hardware. So, dapat alam din yun ni systems administrator.
Trial
Those
version.
hardware components that are still usable, pwede pa ma-repair, then that's also part of troubleshooting
Trial
and
version.
maintenance, which is also under the systems administration task. Okay?
Trial version.
Next task of a systems administrator is routine maintenance. Okay? So when you manage a machine for a company,
Trial
you
version.
just don't set it and forget it. You must constantly update it and provide maintenance so that they run the
Trial
latest
version.
secured software. So, usually, pag ginagmay lang, small number of units or computers na kinahanglan
Trial
yung
version.
update, we usually update it one by one. But when you have multiple numbers of computers, let's
Trial
say
version.
hundreds or even thousands in one organization, then most likely you use batch update every once or twice a month
Trial
if you're
version.
doing it for a fleet of computers. So, dili man ta kinahanglan nga mag-update ka isa-isa. Okay, kaya
Trial
dinaghan naman
version.
na. Usually, they make use of a tool, okay, in which dito na to ginabutang
Trial
ato ang
version.
mga software that needs to be updated, and we do it by batch. Oftentimes, they use the
Trial version.
network. So, butang nila sa isa ka server kanan files for the update, then doon na rin nila kukunin yung update for
Trial
each
version.
computer. So, sabay-sabay nilang i-update. A good guideline is to keep your system secure by installing the latest
Trial
security
version.
patches routinely. Okay? Staying on top of your security is always a good idea. So, routine
Trial
maintenance
version.
should always be made by the systems administrator. So, kung ginagmay ng organization, syempre isa lang man siya
Trial
katao. In large organizations, maybe it's composed of a team. So, even though they are a team, so
Trial
depends
version.
on ilang kinahanglan i-update. Okay? Another task of systems administration is troubleshooting
version.
and managing issues. Okay? Sysadmins have to troubleshoot and prioritize issues on larger scale.
Trial version.
So basically, troubleshoot and prioritize. When you talk about troubleshooting, these are asking
Trial
questions.
version.
Anong nangyari dun sa computer? Ma'am, anong nangyari? Sir, anong nangyari? Isolating the problem. Reading
Trial
possible
version.
logs are the best way to figure out the issue. So that's what we do for troubleshooting. On the other hand,
Trial version.
prioritizing, like say for example, kinahanglan og update ang daghan nga
Trial
computer. Kanya na isa ka employee na nagka-problema iyang printer. So which one do you prioritize?
Trial version.
Kato bang kinahanglan og update or katong kinahanglan lang mag-print? No? So most likely as a systems
Trial
administrator,
version.
you need to prioritize things. Which among your tasks should be done first? Which among
Trial
your
version.
tasks has the greater effect when it comes to the processes or the running of the
Trial
whole
version.
organization. So kinahanglan na to i-prioritize kung sa'y dapat natong unahon as a systems administrator.
Trial version. Trial version.
Then lastly, we have here in case of fire, break the glass. Okay?
Trial
Like it
version.
or not, something at some point will stop working no matter how much planning you do. So like say for example,
Trial version.
kaning baha, sunog, or unsa ba, no? So you can't account for everything, but you can
Trial
be prepared to recover from it. So basically, pinaka basic ani, no?
Trial
That you
version.
make sure that a copy of your data is routinely backed up somewhere preferably far away from its current location.
Trial version.
Like say for example, in case of fire, sunog, no? Masunog imong server, dili po,
Trial version.
lain man po nga, imong backup, nara po diya kapad sa imong server. So kung sunog ang server, sunog po imong backup. So
Trial
we
version.
should take into consideration putting your backups away from the source of the data. So,
Trial version.
like sa ato adre sa Pilipinas, sige mo tagbagyo diri, in other countries, the tornado po
Trial
sila.
version.
So the basic routine of doing the backup is putting your backup either on a
Trial
separate
version.
server na hiwalay, or putting it on a cloud, or it depends, no?
Trial
Kung
version.
unsang klase nga pag-backup ang imuhang kinahanglan. So basically,
Trial version.
ang pinaka nindot himuon is you put something on the cloud and you put something
Trial
from
version.
another server. So that mawala man tong data nimo sa imuhang source, still you still have a backup
Trial
in which you
version.
can use para mag-run balik ang imuhang organization. So yun na nga, hindi mo man kayang i-account lahat, but still you
Trial
can
version.
recover from it if you have a backup. Okay, so before we proceed with the next topic
Trial
on
version.
systems administration, it is about introduction to IT infrastructure services. Let me show you a
Trial
video.
version.
It's a video from a a person who works for
Trial version.
Google. He is a network administrator, I think. No? So, you
Trial
just
version.
try to watch and listen kung unsa man itong iyang experience being a systems administrator
Trial
in
version.
one of the largest companies, which is Google.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Kurot na tigo ka. Payita ganing wala yan so na.
Nagdugay
Trial
na.
version.
Doon ka na makaklase ba?
Trial version.
Ayan, install record.
Trial version. 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 Trial
Okay, so
version.
that was Dior, no? Programmer and as well as a systems administrator at
Trial version.
systems administrator at Google. So
Trial
with that
version.
experience that he had working with directly in front
Trial
of the First
version.
Lady of the United States, medyo nice siyang experience as well as who would expect that
Trial
he would
version.
experience that one being an IT professional. Okay, so let's proceed with the next one, the introduction to
version.
IT infrastructure services. Okay, ano ba yung IT infrastructure? Since systems administrators work
Trial version.
behind IT infrastructure, so we might as well discuss some concepts pertaining to the IT infrastructure services.
Trial version.
Okay, so ano bang IT infrastructure? So what are IT infrastructure services? IT infrastructure
version.
services are what allows an organization to function. So without this infrastructure,
Trial
walay mahitabo no sa isa ka organization. This includes connecting to the internet, managing the networks by setting up the
Trial
network
version.
hardware, connecting to computers to the internal network, and many more. So basically during this time of the pandemic,
Trial version.
pareho sa ato ang theme no sa ato ang topics karong buntaga sa ato ang webinar. This pertains
Trial
more
version.
of the new normal. So basically nowadays, without IT infrastructure services, not a single
Trial
organization could work properly without IT, no? IT presence. So nowadays,
Trial
it
version.
is rare or in something a seminar like we are supposed to do. Kaya nga nandito tayo ngayon sa webinar.
version.
So basically, IT infrastructure services lays the framework at which
Trial
a
version.
certain organization will function. So, pag sinabi kasi natin
Trial
IT
version.
infrastructure, it includes, kung titingnan natin ito, it includes everything. Hardware, network, internet,
Trial version.
and other factors that could make an organization run smoothly or function smoothly. Okay, so we have
Trial
here
version.
some types of IT infrastructure services that are already available, especially today.
Trial version.
there's a less chance for us to roam around, no? First
Trial
and
version.
foremost, the physical infrastructure component of the IT infrastructure service, this can be managed physically
Trial
from
version.
end to end. So, ibig sabihin, from source to destination, we are looking into the physical layer or the hardware
Trial
component, which includes workstations, laptops, printers. It also includes the software that we will be
Trial
using,
version.
the network devices that we are using. If we are using the cloud, then much better. If we are
Trial
using wireless.
version.
And also the directory at which every computer of the organization is registered to
Trial
every
version.
possible employee. No? So, but there's an alternative
Trial
way
version.
of doing things physically. So, an alternative to the physically managing hardware components
Trial
is
version.
using an infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. So, this is the first, no,
Trial
among the
version.
IT infrastructure services that we have. IaaS provides a pre-configured virtual machine. So,
Trial
ibig sabihin,
version.
mura siya hardware na nahimong virtual machine that you can just use
Trial
as
version.
if you are handling a physical server. So, instead of managing the actual hardware,
Trial
tanawin
version.
mo ang cables, kung naka-connect, tanawin mo everything on the hardware level or physical level, you can just
Trial
look
version.
at it on a virtual machine. Okay? So, examples
Trial
of
version.
this IaaS are the Amazon EC2, your Linode, Windows
Trial version.
Azure, and your Google Compute Engine. So these are examples of your infrastructure
version.
as a service. So instead of having to physically look at the devices, you can
Trial
make
version.
use of this service to physically to monitor everything using
Trial
a
version.
virtual machine. Okay? So, yun po yung isa sa mga IT infrastructure service na meron tayo.
Trial version.
Okay? Another thing is your network. Okay? Network as a service. Okay? Network can be
Trial
integrated in IaaS provider. But nowadays, it's already, dati, naka-incorporate lang niya
Trial
sa
version.
infrastructure as a service. But nowadays, it's already branched out in its own cloud service. So, ang
Trial
tawag natin
version.
dito, network as a service or networking as a service. It allows companies to offshore their networking
Trial
services
version.
so that they don't have to deal with expensive networking hardware. So, instead nga
Trial version.
ang company mismo ang mag-put up of network infrastructure, so instead mo, subscribe na lang sila
Trial version.
for a network service. So, tanan, dito na nakakonect. Sila na po yung configure, ana. The only thing that you will
Trial
do is
version.
use the service as part of your organizational functions. So, we call it
Trial version.
network as a service. Okay? The right software must also be available
Trial
to
version.
your company's users. So, the cloud alternative to maintaining your software is known as software as a service or
Trial version.
SaaS. Okay? Examples of which are Microsoft 365, Google G Suite.
Trial
So, kung
version.
titingnan natin siya, for software as a service, everything is done via web browser. So,
Trial
tanan,
version.
himuon mo siya. You can do it web-based. No? Tanan, dito na himuon. And multiple users
Trial
can
version.
access those files sabay-sabay. Pwede nila himuon. No? So, instead
Trial
of
version.
installing your software per unit, no, the company usually
Trial
tends
version.
to subscribe to software as a service. Okay? SaaS.
Trial
So,
version.
example ka ng Microsoft 365. Pwede ka mag-edit online. Pwede ka mag-edit bisan asa. Your files
Trial
are
version.
stored on the cloud, and similarly, kung dili ikaw ang mag-edit, pwede nimo ipa-edit sa uban. Just
Trial
give them
version.
the access. So, that's software as a service.
Trial
Then,
version.
lastly, third to the last, second to the last, I think, is the platform as a service. It allows you to
Trial
build
version.
codes, store information in a database, and serve your application from a single platform. So,
Trial
usually,
version.
pag programming or web development or systems development ang inyong business in your organization,
Trial version.
the usual thing is that you install everything. You install your database, you install your software development
Trial
tools, you install your diba? Imuhang para gamitan nimo sa front end and back end, install nimo
Trial
na tanan
version.
in a computer. And if you have multiple users na pareho og trabaho, then installan pod nimo to silang
Trial
tanan.
version.
Okay? So, okay lang kung duha tulo lang ang computer, okay lang na siya. But if you have multiple numbers of computer,
Trial
100,
version.
50 ka computer, medyo tedious siya or hago siya para sa ato ang network
Trial
systems
version.
administrator kung isa-isahon niya install. Rather than installing a platform as a service, i-incorporate
Trial
nimo dito sa
version.
imuhang system. So, tanan na dito. So, the usual thing for platform as a service is
Trial version.
mura siya ibutang nimo tanan dito ang tools nga unsa gamiton sa kada user. So dito na nila i-access sa server.
Trial version.
So kung kinahanglan siya Visual Basic, dito na niya kuha sa server diretso. Dili na ka mag-install on each individual
Trial version.
unit. No? So examples of this platform as a service providers are Heroku. Windows Azure is
Trial
also
version.
one of this. Then you have your Google App Engine. So, ang ginahimo ani usually handling of data
Trial
and as well
version.
as creating of applications. Okay? So, lastly, we have the directory
version.
as a service. Okay? Directory service includes management of users, access, and authorizations.
Trial
So,
version.
basically, kung titingnan natin si directory, naka directory yung pag-add, pag-update, and pag-remove ng users and
Trial
computers
version.
in a network. So, examples of this are ano ba?
Trial
Active
version.
Directory for Microsoft, no? Microsoft Active Directory and LDAP. Okay? So, LDAP is one
Trial
of
version.
the open source active directories. So, ang himuon ani for directory as a service,
Trial version.
instead of removing one computer, isa-isahon nimo nagtanggal sa network
Trial version.
individually, you just go to the directory, search for those computers. Similarly, for Active
Trial
Directories, IP addresses of each computer you can put host names for each of those para mas dali nimo siya
Trial version.
Like say for example, ang IP address, like say isa mo adre kay Sir Abillera na siya IP address sa
Trial
iyang laptop. So pwede nimo pangalanan dito sa Active Directory of Sir Abillera laptop or ako ang laptop, Oriente
Trial
laptop
version.
or Bahador laptop. So by name, by host name of those IP addresses given to that
Trial
certain
version.
computer, mas dali nimo halimbawa ni retire na may. So tanggalon na lang nimo dito sa Active Directory directly.
Trial version.
Ma-search na nimo dito ang pangalan sa unit rather than memorizing the IP addresses given to each individual
Trial version.
units. So that's directory service. Okay? So the cloud services are great options. So
Trial
yung limang
version.
yon, ano? So we have infrastructure as a service, we have software as a service, network
Trial
as a
version.
service, we have platform as a service, and you have your Active Directory as a service. So those cloud services are
Trial
great
version.
options. But it's important that you understand how these services work and how to maintain before you employ the help of a
Trial
cloud
version.
service. So dapat as a systems administrator, you should be able to understand how these
Trial
things
version.
work because dili man nato mawala na there are times na mag-trouble gina siya, no? There
Trial
are
version.
things na beyond our control if you are using cloud services because we are just subscribing, no? So
Trial
naga-subscribe
version.
lang ta. Make sure that you still have your own personal servers in which you can back up
Trial
everything
version.
that you put in your cloud. So the good thing is that much better if you have a
Trial
local
version.
server, tapos i-up lang nimo sa cloud ang sulod sa imong server, tapos i-up nimo sa cloud for
Trial
them to
version.
access. Okay? So take it down to your local server as well. So kumbaga birahanay lang og data. You don't put everything on the
Trial
cloud.
version.
Okay? Butang nimo siya sa local server, then you bring it up to the cloud kung kinahanglan nila, then you store it
Trial
back
version.
again to your local server. Okay, para duha ang imuhang files. If anything goes wrong with the cloud services, then you might
Trial
as well
version.
have a backup for you to recover your data. Okay? So those are the types of IT
Trial
infrastructure
version.
services. Then we have the physical infrastructure services. Ano naman itong
Trial
physical
version.
infrastructure services for the network. Okay? One very familiar term
Trial
for
version.
physical infrastructure services is your server operating system. You cannot manage everything if you do not have a server operating system. Actually, your server operating system is just a regular
Trial
operating system that are optimized for server functionality. So if you take into consideration
Trial
kanang ato ang mga servers, example is Microsoft Server. You have your Microsoft operating system. Actually, pareho lang silang
Trial
sulod,
version.
but i-optimize lang siya to cater for a server functionality. Examples are Windows
Trial
Server,
version.
we also have our Ubuntu Server, and we also have our Mac server. So, Mac OS na
Trial
server,
version.
so na-upload na siya. So, the functions of this server is just the same as that
Trial
of
version.
a tawag nito, kanang ito regular na
version.
to nga operating system. Okay? The only thing that differs is
Trial version.
kanang iyahang functionality for server management.
Trial version.
So, server OS are more secured and come with additional services already built
Trial
in.
version.
So basically, your server can manage multiple number of clients and they can provide you
Trial
with
version.
services that a regular operating system cannot provide. So examples are policy making, no?
Trial version.
Actually, in server operating systems, if most of you have already taken computer system servicing,
Trial version.
siguro ang na-configure nyo is Windows Server 2008 R2, no? That was the
Trial version.
the server used, no, ng TESDA way back siguro mga 3 years ago
Trial version.
until nag-change siya into 2012 R2, no? So Windows Server 2012 R2.
Trial version.
So if you notice, part of the competencies that you have
Trial version.
done for your CSS NC2 is server management, no? So that is where you put your Active Directory,
Trial
you
version.
configure your policies, group policies, you configure your network sharing sa
Trial
computer. You also have set roles, no, dito sa tuang server. So naka-role dito,
Trial
administrator, student, and so on and so forth. In policies also, you put into there sa inyong CSS
Trial
itong
version.
policy on not changing the desktop background sa tuang user. Dili ka-change atong user o
Trial
desktop
version.
background, dili siya ka-change sa mga themes and so on and so forth. So you can put that one in those policies. So those
Trial
are
version.
part of server operating systems. Okay. Next is we have virtualization.
Trial version.
Okay, as part of the physical infrastructure services. Para asa man yung virtualization? So usually, we
Trial version.
usually tend to compare dedicated hardware versus virtualized instance. So for virtualized instance, automatically
Trial
we will be
version.
using virtual machines. So we try to compare performance-wise. Okay, dedicated hardware
Trial
is
version.
fast. Comparing it with a virtualized instance. Okay? So, bakit mabilis? Because a dedicated
Trial
hardware,
version.
if you have a server, kung isa lang ang imuhang server, isa lang po ang service nga nagadagan anak, it cannot
version.
consume all the possible resources of that server. So, mas mabilis siya compared to a virtualized instance. A
Trial
virtualized
version.
instance, you can run as many possible services in one virtual machine, but it slows down the system. So,
Trial
mahinay
version.
ang atong system because you have multiple number of services running in one
Trial version.
virtual network or virtual hardware or virtual machine. Okay? Cost, kung titingnan
Trial
naman
version.
natin yung cost of dedicated hardware, medyo mahal siya. Na naman,
Trial
one
version.
hardware would mean one service running. So kung naka 10 services that you should run in
Trial
your
version.
organization, then most likely you are going to purchase 10 dedicated hardware for those. Unlike
Trial
for virtualized instance, you can run as many services as you can in one hardware.
Trial
So kay
version.
virtual machine man siya, so you can have multiple number of virtual machines. Okay? So mas daghan kag virtual machines
Trial
diha sa
version.
isa ka device, okay lang. So mas cheaper siya compared to that of a dedicated hardware.
Trial version.
Now, what about in terms of maintenance? Dedicated hardware, pag mag-maintenance ka, sigurado, ma-down yun ang server, ang isa ka service mo. Kung imong i-maintenance ang isa ka server, down imong isa ka service. Unlike virtualized instance, in which pwede nimo i-migrate ang imuhang virtual machine to another machine and take all your time maintaining the previous machine na imong gigustahan. So you can edit as many, you can maintain as many times as you want. Still, the services will still be running. So it's running because you just migrated it to another device. So kung mahuman na kag maintenance sa imong server, then you put it back on the server and you have to maintain another server as well. So mas dako ang iyahang possibilities na dili siya mag-down because you can just migrate your services to a certain device while conducting maintenance on your server. Lastly, we look at the points of failure. Okay? How many times will a dedicated hardware fail?
Trial version.
Example, brownout. Wala kay generator.
Trial version.
Pero most companies siguro di pwedeng wala generator, no? But points of failure in terms of kanang mo down atong server, mas greater siya when it comes to dedicated hardware than virtualized instance. But most commonly, mo down gihapon si virtualized instance. But it should be noted na pwede ka mupadagan og duha ka server, one of which is a backup. Okay? So for dedicated hardware, you can have two servers running using the same service. So duha ka server imong i-put up, ang isa backup server. Kung mo down kung major server nimo, nakapay backup server who would cater the possible services offered by that major server. So for virtualized instance, ang iyang backup usually is also a dedicated hardware. So kaya dili man ka pwede mo backup o virtualized pod, no? So pwede siya na virtualized imong backup pero sa lain nga server. So it's a combination of a virtualized instance and a dedicated hardware as well. So pwede duha ang imong padaganon na virtual machine, but both of them are from different servers. So taking into consideration those aspects of performance, cost, maintenance, and points of failure, it is still dependent, no, on the decision of the systems administrator to which among the two ang iyang pilion. But it doesn't say that you cannot have both of them in one organization. Pwede man mo siya pagsabayon. Yun nga lang, meron lang comparison in terms of those four aspects.
Trial version.
Then, lastly, of the physical infrastructure services is the remote access. Okay?
Trial version.
So, remote access. Saan ng remote access? It is the ability for an authorized person to access a computer or network from a geographical distance through a network connection. So, the usual thing, pinaka-common when it comes to systems administration is your SSH or your secure shell. Okay? So, we can remote access anything, no? From different platforms dito sa uban nga lugar. If you are you have installed an SSH client, SSH to a client computer, and you also installed an SSH to a server. So kaning service usually helps you communicate ang client padulong sa server. Your secure shell is a way in which we encrypt the connection. So, mas secure siya. The server will only listen to a client with an SSH client. No? So, kanang na siya installed na SSH client. If a computer wants to connect to a server tapos wala siya SSH, then most likely dili na niya i-grant ang access. So, remote access can only be done kung ikaw ang network administrator or systems administrator kung na-kay secure shell. Without your secure, hay possibilities of entertaining malicious queries gikan sa uban nga users. For Linux, we usually use the apt-get. We usually use the terminal. Kani mag-install ka ani. Sa Linux, we use the terminal. For a client, we do sudo apt-get, then install client SSH. So we have that function for Linux to install client
version.
SSH. For client SSH kasi, the Linux operating system or Linux server, siya na ang mangita
Trial version.
sa installer anak, no? So actually it's already built in, yun nga lang i-enable niya lang, no? Similarly, for server Linux, ang iyahang code is sudo apt-get then
Trial
install
version.
install SSH server. So most likely
Trial
pareho
version.
lang ang ilahang code, but you do it all in terminal. So terminal ang tawag ana. In Microsoft operating
Trial
systems, we
version.
call it the command prompt. Sa Linux, terminal atong tawag ana. So you can access in any geographical
Trial version.
location basta kay naka-configure ang imong remote access. Okay? So
Trial
these
version.
are the different infrastructure services. Physical infrastructure services, we have 3
Trial
for
version.
IT infrastructure. So we have server operating systems, we have virtualization, and
Trial
remote
version.
access. So other infrastructures or network services that the
Trial version.
network infrastructure offers are the following. So we have FTP, okay, SFTP, and the TFTP.
Trial
Ano
version.
ang kaibahan nila? Okay. Obviously, for networks to function well, kinahanglan ka upload or download ng mga
Trial
components.
version.
You cannot just say nga, nara ng files diha, dili na need niya i-update, di na ka
Trial
need mag-download or mag-upload. So, most of the time, kinahanglan maginato ni, kay mag-upload man ta, mag-download. So, ano bang kaibahan
Trial version.
ng file transfer services na mayroon sa isang network? Pinaka ginagamit natin is your file transfer protocol,
Trial version.
in which we have no encryption. What we have is only authentication. So usually,
Trial version.
ga-download ta, it is just a way at which your system would check
Trial
if that
version.
user is really a verified user. Nga wala lang na siya kapang download lang, ka-phishing lang. No? So we make
Trial
use
version.
of the file transfer protocol. For secured server, we have the secured file transfer protocol, which
Trial
uses
version.
SSH encryption and as well as authentication. Then lastly, we have the trivial file transfer protocol or your TFTP.
Trial version.
Ito, walang no holds barred, kumbaga. There's no encryption, no authentication. Usually, ito yung ginagamit
Trial
natin
version.
sa mga file servers na ang nakabutang dito are only installers.
Trial
Isa man po
version.
yung download ng installers. No? So, it's not a critical data. No? So, kung critical data, we use SFTP.
Trial version.
For non-trivial or trivial lang ang mga data, we use trivial file transfer
Trial
protocol.
version.
Example, paano ba natin siya magagamit? Like say for example, if you want to install on multiple
Trial
number
version.
of computers, ibutang nato sa file server atong installer. Dito nato kuha ng installer. I-access lang nato siya via
Trial
network.
version.
If you could still, ewan ko lang if you have tried doing so,
Trial version.
are you familiar with PXE boot? No? PXE boot or Pixie boot in your
Trial
operating
version.
system. The usual thing is we put our installer for the operating system in a network server
Trial
or file
version.
server. Tapos kung mag-reformat ta via network, okay, di ba naatay network boot na ginatawag?
Trial version.
We are using the Pixie boot, no? PXE boot, in which the PXE boot would look for the
Trial
installer of the
version.
operating system from the file server. Siya na mangita dito, and then it will automatically install the operating
Trial version.
So it still uses your TFTP or your trivial file transfer protocol.
Trial version.
Okay, another network service that we have for our servers is your NTP or your
Trial
network time
version.
protocol. It's used to keep the clock synchronized on machines connected to a network. Lain man po, nga connected
Trial
tanan sa
version.
network, tapos lahi ang oras, lahi clock. No? So basically, your NTP server
Trial
would
version.
adjust everything, every clock that is connected on your network sa tanang computers and network appliances to siya.
Trial version.
Okay? Because why is it necessary? It is necessary because some of the
Trial
network
version.
authentication protocols like your Kerberos is dependent on time being consistent across the network to work.
Trial version.
So, naiubad ng mga protocols nga nanginahanglan ani. So, it's not necessarily na para lang
Trial
yun siya sa
version.
clock, no? That there are other protocols that are really time dependent. Example kaning sa mga airport bitaw na
Trial
to,
version.
systems for airlines. They are using kaning NTP, network time
Trial
protocol. So kung ma-solve lang unta ni network time protocol lang atong flight delays, okay unta. But actually,
Trial
Kerberos is one of those nga mga protocol na nanginahanglan of consistent time across
Trial
the
version.
network. So it's part of the network services that a systems administrator should manage.
Trial version.
Okay? Another network service is the network support services, no? So we
Trial
have
version.
the intranet and as well as the proxy server. So the intranet is an internal network inside the
Trial
company,
version.
accessible if you're on a company's network. So if you look at intranet, it gives the
Trial version.
employees and workers the possible resources to communicate,
Trial version.
collaborate, no, access to different data, communication, email service. So everything
Trial
is
version.
within the organization only. It's within the local area network. So malimit na to ang pag-access
Trial
sa mga
version.
taga-gawas. Okay, another network support service that is widely used is your proxy server. So it
Trial
acts
version.
as an intermediary between a company's network and the internet. So ano bang purpose ng proxy server?
Trial version.
Once an outside or an external computer wants to access the
Trial
organization,
version.
it passes the proxy server. So lahat ng network na nasa internet can only see the proxy server and cannot see the local area
Trial
network
version.
itself. So moagi lang na siya diha. No? So ang
Trial
proxy
version.
server na to acts as a barrier between the internet and the local area network of your organization.
Trial
So, ang
version.
makita ni internet is only the proxy server. But the rest of the computer behind the proxy server, they
Trial
cannot see
version.
it. No? So, dili na makita sa internet. One good thing about proxy servers is that it also acts
Trial
as a
version.
barrier for malicious entry to your local area network. So, mas stuck po na siya sa proxy server. Only
Trial version.
proxy servers and as well as firewalls are used to block those entry from different
Trial
malicious
version.
computers outside of the local area network. So yung dalawang yun, these are important
Trial
aspects of the network support service in an organization. Okay? Then we
Trial
have
version.
another service. Network service is your domain name system. Okay? So your domain name system
Trial
maps
version.
human understandable names to IP addresses. So ano ibig sabihin nun? Lahat kasi in a network,
version.
lahat ng devices connected to a network has its own IP address. So kung ikaw
Trial
ang
version.
systems administrator tapos wala siya domain name system, you have to
Trial version.
memorize every IP address that is being used in your organization.
Trial
Isod
version.
man kayo mag-memorize no? Rather than memorizing, like say for example,
Trial
CEO's
version.
computer, o di mas dali to siya kaysa sa mag-memorize kag 192.168.12.11.
Trial version.
Or say for example, one very important na DNS nga tong
Trial version.
ginatanaw is localhost, no? Kaning localhost which is from the different
Trial version.
different nga mga servers na itong na-encounter. Localhost is always 127.0.0.0.
Trial version.
No? So, that's localhost. No? So may reasons why we need to set up DNS. First,
Trial version.
if you're running a web service like a website, you won't be able to tell the internet what IP address to reach
Trial
your
version.
website at. So kung walay DNS, dili na ma-identify ni
Trial
internet
version.
kung unsay IP address padulong sa imong website. Okay? So that's a great
Trial version.
a great advantage nga
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Okay, so that
Trial
was
version.
Heather, no? Actually, she started learning Unix during the
Trial
first
version.
day of her work. So, medyo kung titingnan natin, it's not too late for
Trial
everybody
version.
to learn Unix. So, actually, Unix is just similar to that of Linux.
Trial version.
Gladly, we had MSU IIT, the school where I came from. We are using
Trial
Linux.
version.
No? We are using Ubuntu dito sa among computer lab. So, actually, in the
Trial
Philippines, the
version.
most widely used operating system is Windows. But it is also the most widely used pirated operating system.
Trial
So,
version.
mao siya pinakadali gamiton. But if you have to work on Linux, kung masugdan lang yun ninyong
Trial
gamit,
version.
it's just similar to that of Windows. So, pareho lang sila. There are those applications that are
Trial
really,
version.
for Linux only, pero pareho naman yun sila. So, that
Trial
ends
version.
my discussion on systems administration and IT infrastructure services. Thank you for listening. So, if you have
Trial
queries,
version.
siguro pwede tamo entertain o pila ka questions before we end this webinar
Trial
on
version.
systems administration and IT infrastructure services.
Trial version.
You can type your questions if you have one. Pwede man na to i-chat lang sa chat box.
Trial version.
Then we will try to answer in as much as possible na pwede na to siya matubag.
Trial version.
I-diretso na lang nato siguro ning kwan
Trial
instead
version.
of doing this as a whole day event. Okay, so
Trial
our next
version.
speaker will like to ask na especially for
Trial
those
version.
IS third year no sa North Valley and
Trial version.
siguro ang pinaka-kwan gyud ani ang focus man gud nato is ang kaning third year dito
Trial
sa kwan
version.
sa North Valley. Pero if you want to join no he's asking for a participation
version.
pero kailangan na mo calculators at the same time na laptops kung pwede. And
Trial version.
ano sa pa ba sir? Ano sa kailangan? Ballpen and paper, no?
Trial version.
So, again, welcome back to our webinar. At this time, I would like to introduce you to
Trial
our
version.
next resource speaker for this morning's event. First of
Trial
all, let
version.
me begin this afternoon, morning's topic by a famous quote written by Ronald Coase, an
Trial
economist,
version.
a Nobel Prize laureate. He quoted, "Torture the data and it will confess to anything."
Trial version.
Now, this may sound ridiculous, but data mining and its machine learning algorithms has always been a right tool in
Trial
discovering
version.
patterns and relationships in the data in order to help make better business
Trial
decisions.
version.
Data mining can help spot sales trends, develop smarter marketing campaigns, and accurately
version.
predict customer loyalty. Day by day, a huge amount of data is collected on sales,
Trial
customer
version.
shopping, consumption, and etc. This data is increasing every day due to e-commerce.
Trial version.
Now, data mining helps to identify customer buying behavior, improve customer services,
Trial version.
focus on customer retention, enhance sales, and reduce the cost of business.
Trial
Our
version.
resource speaker for this morning is also one of the pride of MIST. Still one of my good
Trial
friends.
version.
He graduated in Bachelor of Science in Electronics and Communications Engineering at University of the
version.
Immaculate Conception Davao in the year 2006. He also finished his master's degree at University
version.
of Southern Mindanao Main Campus on Masters in Information Management by the year 2014.
Trial
He
version.
has a complete academic requirements in Doctor in Information Technology. He is currently teaching data
Trial
mining in
version.
MIST and is known to be one of the most prominent faculty. Students from
Trial
NV,
version.
CFI, and MST, respected guests and faculties, I would like you to meet Mr.
Trial
Ronald
version.
Bahador as our speaker for this morning's topic, which will be about the data mining, Naïve-based
Trial
algorithm.
version.
Sir Ronald, sir, you may now start your presentation.
Good morning.
Trial version.
Matandog ba?
Trial version.
Here's the screen.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Trial version.
Okay, Sir Jerry, ang gamit niya pan.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Good morning.
Trial version.
Try lang daw patchat
Trial
sila,
version.
Patchata lang daw sila kung madulong ba.
Can you hear me? Or can you see my screen? Please?
Trial version.
Anyone?
Trial version.
So that I can proceed?
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
I-chat na lang daw sa fire-based theorem probability and the NV classifier. And
Trial
in
version.
the later part, we have a small example and
Trial version.
we have to do NV
Trial version.
algorithm using only your Excel or your calculator,
Trial version.
pencil and paper. Okay. Next, a simple quiz. Can you identify the
Trial
objects? Of course, we have the green one is apple.
Trial version.
The right topmost is onion.
Trial
And
version.
we have an egg. And we have a
Trial
kamote
version.
or sweet potato. Okay?
Trial version.
Introduction to classification.
Di makita.
Trial version.
Di makita.
Nakita.
Wala naka-share.
Iba.
Trial version.
Ano na?
Trial
Nakikita niyo ba
version.
screen ko? Sige, ah.
Trial
Okay.
version.
Okay. We have example here. A teacher classifies students A, B, C, and
Trial
D
version.
based on their marks. The following is a simple classification rule using.
Trial version.
So, ginamit niya is table marks. Okay?
Trial
So,
version.
pwedeng mark greater than all equal to 90.
Trial
Then,
version.
the other one greater than 90. Or in layman's terms, that is
Trial
80 to
version.
90, 70 to 80, 60 to 70, and 60.
Trial
Okay?
version.
So, This is table marks.
Trial
Is,
version.
applying specific data rule. Next.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Okay, example of classification
Trial
in data
version.
mining, we have life science, predicting tumors as we
Trial version.
begin or benign or malignant. Security, classifying credit
Trial
cards,
version.
transactions as legitimate or fraudulent. Prediction, weather,
version.
voting, political dynamics. We have also entertainment, categorizing
Trial version.
news stories as finance, weather, entertainment, and sports. We have also
Trial version.
social media, identifying the current trend and future growth. Okay, data mining is used
Trial version.
in these
Trial
6
version.
aspects, but not limited to these aspects. Okay, so
Trial version.
there's a study that instead of
Trial
SWOT
version.
test, they will use data mining to predict whether
Trial version.
a person is a positive or a negative in the COVID-19.
Trial version.
Just tinitignan lang doon sa tinatawag nating attributes.
Trial version.
So classification definition. Classification is a form of data analysis
Trial
to
version.
exact model describing important data classes. Essentially,
Trial version.
it involves dividing up objects so that each is assigned to one
Trial
of the
version.
number of mutually exhaustive and exclusive category known as
Trial
classes.
version.
Okay, mamaya malalaman natin yan. The term mutually exhaustive and exclusive simply
Trial
means
version.
that object or each object must be assigned precisely on one
Trial
class.
version.
So, never to more than one.
Trial
or
version.
never to no class. Specifically, objects is meron siyang one
Trial version.
class. Hindi pwedeng dalawa or hindi pwedeng wala. Otherwise, our study or our mining, data
Trial
mining
version.
is scrapped. Okay? We have the classification techniques. Classification consists
Trial
of
version.
assigning a class label to a set of unclassified classes.
Trial
We
version.
have supervised and unsupervised. What is the difference between the supervised and unsupervised?
Trial version.
A supervised is the set of possible classes that is known in advance.
Trial
Okay?
version.
Known in advance. So, alam mo na kung ano ang ipipredict mo. And
Trial version.
unsupervised classification is set of possible classes that is not known. After
version.
classification, we can try to assign the name to that class. Right?
Trial
So,
version.
unsupervised classification is called clustering. Okay?
Trial version.
Parang one way lang tayo dito. Kaway-kaway naman kayo.
Trial version.
Next. So, this is supervised classification
Trial
in
version.
which alam nyo na yung ika-classify ninyo kung saan ba yan siya mapunta. Okay?
Trial version.
So, mapunta ba yan siya kay lazy one? Or kay gangster? Depending on the
Trial version.
attributes that is present to that data set.
Trial
Okay?
version.
Unlike the unsupervised, ito yung surprise, di ba? That's cluster. Paano mo yung ka-clustering
Trial
niya?
version.
Okay? So, each of that, yung mga pusa na yan, bibigyan mo yan siya ng
Trial
class
version.
name or ng pangalan. Tulad nung Diyan. Ito, alam nyo na dati
Trial
na yan yung
version.
kahihiyatnan. Okay? But this is unsupervised. So, kayo pa ang
Trial
gagawa.
version.
Sinong pinaka-cute?
Trial version.
Hello?
Trial version.
Baka wala na akong kausap, ha? Baka wala na akong audience. Diyan pa kayo?
Trial version.
Nakaputi.
Trial version.
Topmost? Okay. Next. The
Trial
supervised
version.
classification technique is what we call given a collection of records.
Trial
Yan
version.
ito ang tinatawag natin, yung pinaka-importante, yung data sets natin. Data sets includes two parts.
Trial
We
version.
have the training set and the ano nga yan? Mamaya. Okay?
Trial version.
Matatakil natin yan. Given a collection of records, that is the training
Trial
set,
version.
each record contains an attributes. Okay? One of the attribute is called class. Ano yung tinatawag na
Trial version.
attributes? Halimbawa dito sa example na ito. Okay?
Trial
One of
version.
the attributes is yung color ng kanilang balahibo. That's one attribute. Next is color ng
Trial
kanilang
version.
eyes. Okay? Or color ng kanilang, or shape ng kanilang
Trial version.
tainga. Possible, although pare-pareho naman ang
Trial version.
tunog ng pusa, pwede rin yung maging attribute. Okay? Depending on what the
Trial
data
version.
set dictates. Okay? So, you have to find a model for a
Trial
class
version.
attribute as a function of the values of other attributes. The goal here is
Trial
the
version.
previously unseen record should be assigned a class
Trial
as
version.
accurately as possible. Okay? To satisfy the property of the mutually
Trial version.
exclusive and exhaustive. Right? So, this is the supervised
Trial
one.
version.
Then, illustrating this on how many, depending on iteration
Trial version.
ang gusto ninyo, but ang pinakamabisa is the tenfold iteration, meaning
Trial version.
ibalik-balik niya ng kasampung beses. And mas maganda, mas maraming training sets,
Trial
mas
version.
mas magiging matalino yung ating machine learning or yung ating algorithm.
Trial version.
Okay? Hindi yan sa kung ano ang paulit-ulit na
Trial version.
pinasabi ng attribute 1, 2, 3. Okay? Sa output niya,
Trial
yun
version.
yung tawag dito. Yun yung aaralin ng ating algorithm,
Trial
ni
version.
NV in this case. Right? So, we have to insert the training set
Trial version.
in our learning algorithm or the machine learning algorithm, and we have to create a model, apply a
Trial
model,
version.
so that we can test the previously unknown
Trial version.
attributes or previously unknown or unseen records. Right?
Trial version.
So, classification problem. Uy, math naman ni sir.
Trial version.
Precisely, no? Data mining is nakaangkla siya sa statistics, probability
Trial
and
version.
statistics. Basically, is just looking on the history or the data sets.
Trial version.
Kung wala yon, wala rin yung data mining. Okay? So, classification problem, more precisely,
Trial
classification
version.
problem can be stated as below. Okay? Given the database D is equal to T
Trial
sub 1
version.
until T sub n. The tuples of a set of a class C sub
Trial
1 to
version.
Ck, the classification problem is to define as mapping of D
Trial version.
to C, where each T sub I is assigned to
Trial
one
version.
class. Note that the tuple T sub I is the element of D is defined by a set
Trial
of
version.
attribute. Set A is equal to A sub 1, A sub 2, and
Trial
A
version.
sub n. Okay? Hantod sa ending of
Trial
the data.
version.
Okay? Classification techniques. A number of classification techniques are
Trial
known
version.
which can be broadly classified into the following categories. We have first, statistically or statistical based method. We have the regression and the Bayesian classifier.
Trial version.
Next, we have the distance based classification. Okay? We have the key
Trial version.
nearest neighbor or the other one, the key means. Okay? Ito lahat makikita yan.
Trial version.
Pwede nyo makita yan actually sa inyong spreadsheet or sa inyong
Trial version.
Excel. Okay? Meron ng iba yon. Meron ng ibang add-ons.
Trial
Okay?
version.
We have also decision tree based classification. Okay? We have the ID tree,
Trial version.
C4.5 card, and hindi ko na-include dito. Ang ginagamit ko ngayon is the
Trial version.
J48 decision tree. No? We have also classification
Trial
using
version.
machine learning, so SVM, then classification using neural network. Neural
Trial
network
version.
yun yung pinakamahirap so far sa lahat ng
Trial version.
algorithm ng data mining. Kasi mag-AI na siya eh.
Trial version. Trial version.
Okay, so focus tayo sa
Trial
Bayesian
version.
classifier. Bayesian classifier. Ano
Trial
ang principle nito? Okay? So, ang principle ni Bayesian classifier or the
Trial
classification
version.
itself, we have the training records. Okay? We have the training records here. If
Trial version.
it works like a duck, for example, this is that it works like a duck, quacks like a duck, then
Trial version.
it is most probably it is a duck. Okay? So lahat yan titignan niya kung sino ba sa
Trial
kanila
version.
ang duck. Okay? So basically dalawa lang po
Trial
ang
version.
pumasa sa 5 na training record. Okay?
Trial version.
So the other one, hindi siya ducks. A
Trial
statistical
version.
classifier performs probabilistic prediction.
Trial
Example
version.
predicts class membership probability. We have the foundation. Foundation is based on the
Trial
Bayesian
version.
theorem, which is nakafocus doon sa probability. Mamaya, makikita natin yung formula.
Trial
Kung ano
version.
yung sinasabi natin. Okay? Assumption, the classes are mutually exclusive
Trial
and
version.
exhaustive. The attributes are independent given the class. Then, it is
Trial
called
version.
naive classifier because this assumption empirically proven to be useful
Trial
and
version.
scales very well. Example of this, this is
Trial
the air
version.
traffic of the India airport.
Trial
Sa unang
version.
tanaw, sama. Uy, ano? Sama na. Ganun libog-libog
Trial
naman ang
version.
sarili na. Pero, sa iba, especially on the
Trial
yung
version.
nasa airport, mahalaga yan sa kanilang data na yan. Okay? So we have the air traffic
Trial
data.
version.
This is on the arrival and routes of
Trial
the
version.
airport. Kasi pag hindi mo tinignan yan, eh lahat niyan gustong mag-land. So
Trial
naglabo-labo
version.
na yung lahat sa yung airport. Okay? Air traffic data. So we have this one. Ito
Trial
na yung
version.
tinatawag natin na attribute. Okay? Yung days, season, fog,
Trial
rain.
version.
class, yan yung pinaka ano natin. Yan yung output, kumbaga,
Trial
in
version.
layman's term. Okay? So itong tatlo, apat, ito yung parang input, yung
Trial
attributes.
version.
Then the class, yan yung output, kalalabasan niya. Okay? So we
Trial
have
version.
weekdays, on the days, holidays, Saturdays, Sundays. Then season, we have spring,
Trial version.
winter, summer, autumn. Ewan ko ano yun sa kanila. Fog, may
Trial
fog din
version.
pala sa India. So we have high, normal, or none at all. Rain, we have slight,
Trial version.
heavy, or none at all. So class, output is on time, late, and very
Trial
late.
version.
Okay? Bakit kailangan malaman yon?
Trial
Para
version.
hindi maglabo-labo yung ating air traffic sa airport. Okay? So, this is
Trial
just the
version.
consideration of the previous slide. So, basically, we have 1, 2, 3, 4,
Trial
5, 6,
version.
7, 8, 9, 10, 20
Trial
data
version.
sets. Okay? We have 20 data sets. Okay? So, in this database,
Trial version.
there are 4 attributes: the day, season, fog, and the rain. And we have total
Trial
of 20
version.
tropos or classes. Tropos. The categories
Trial
of class are on time, very late, and cancelled. Oh, may cancelled. ba
Trial
dyan?
version.
Hindi ko nakita. Ayun, ang isa. Okay.
Trial version.
So, given this knowledge of data and classes, we are to find most likely
Trial version.
the classification for another unseen instant. For example, we have the weekday,
Trial version.
winter, high, none. Ano kaya ang kalalabasan niya? Magiging
Trial
late
version.
kaya siya? Magiging on time? Or cancel? Okay? Kung ito malalaman
version.
nyo, kung ito maging expert kayo in your normal life, alam nyo na kung ano kahihinat
Trial
na.
version.
Okay, halimbawa, halimbawa sa inyo, in data
Trial
mining, kaya nyo na, before going to discuss the Bayesian classifier, we should have
Trial
a quick
version.
look on what is the theory of probability and phrase.
Trial version.
Okay. Are you ready to do some math?
Trial version.
So these are the theory. Okay? Simple probability.
Trial version.
Okay? So P, probability A is equal to N over N. If there
Trial
are
version.
N elements, so that is event associated with a random experiment of N,
Trial version.
and N of them are favorable into the event A.
Trial version.
The probability of happening of occurrence of A is
Trial
written
version.
in the formula probability of A is equal to N over N. So madali lang, no? Divide lang. Probability
Trial
lang yan
version.
siya. Halimbawa, yung tossing a coin. Okay? What is the probability
Trial
of
version.
tossing a coin na tail ang lalabas? Anyone?
Trial version.
Anyone? What is the probability of tossing a
Trial
coin,
version.
a pair of coin, that tail ang lalabas?
Trial version.
Hello? Are you still
Trial
there?
version. Trial version.
1 out of 2, or that is 50%. Okay? Kasi dalawa lang
Trial
naman.
version.
Okay? How about, what is the probability of tossing a dice na ang
Trial
lalabas
version.
is 6? Anyone?
Trial version.
1 over 6. Galing eh.
Trial
Okay.
version.
Sa akin siguro ito probability and statistics. Okay?
Trial version.
So, ganun lang kadali. M over N. So, simple probability. Suppose A and B
Trial
are
version.
any two events. So, we have the probability of A and probability of B. Denote
Trial
by
version.
the probabilities that the event A and event B will occur respectively.
Trial
So,
version.
mutually exclusive event. Dalawa na. Two events are mutually exclusive if the occurrence
Trial
of
version.
one precludes the occurrence of the other. Tossing a coin, two events. Tossing a
Trial version.
Ludo clubs. Okay. Yeah, Q.
Trial
Yung
version.
sample ko kanina. Okay? So, kung pair, that is
Trial
yung-
version.
Bakit sila mutually exclusive? Kasi yung coin, dalawa ay merong tail at saka
Trial version.
head. Yung naman, yung cube, ani, no? From 1 to 6 in cube.
Trial version.
Okay? Next.
Trial version.
So, independent events, two events are independent if the occurrence of one does
Trial
not
version.
alter the occurrence of other. Okay? So, paano ba yan? Okay. Tossing both coins
Trial version.
and the cube together. So, how many events are there? Sige daw.
Trial version.
So, probably, halimbawa, yung A natin, yung coin. Yung
Trial
B
version.
natin is yung cube. So, the probability of coin is 1 over 2 and the
Trial
probability
version.
of the cube is 1 over 6. So, what is the total probability now?
Trial version.
Anyone?
Trial version.
That's simple probability. Okay. We have also the
Trial
joint
version.
probability if A or probability of A and B are probability of two
Trial
events.
version.
Then the probability of A in union with B is equal to probability of
Trial
A
version.
plus probability of B minus the probability of A intersection of probability of B.
Trial version.
If A and B are mutually exclusive, then P probability A
Trial version.
probability mutually exclusive. Okay, intersection of B is
Trial
equal to
version.
0. If the A and B or the event A and B are independent events, then
Trial version.
probability of A intersect with B is equal to probability times the probability of
Trial
A
version.
times the probability of B. Thus, the mutually exclusive event is equal to the probability of A union
Trial
B
version.
is equal to probability of A plus probability of B. Okay lang ba? Mabilis ba ako?
Trial version.
Or chokes lang? Hello?
Trial version.
Sige. Anyway, mamaya sa mag-enjoy kayo.
Trial
Sa
version.
ating, simple example. Okay.
Trial version.
So, conditional probability, if the events are independent or dependent, then their probability is expressed by the conditional
Trial version.
probability. The probability that occurs given the B is denoted as
Trial
probability A, B. Suppose A and B are two events
Trial version.
associated with a random experiment, then the probability of, ilang probability na yung sabi ko?
Trial version.
Probability of A under the condition that B has already occurred. Then probability of B
Trial
is
version.
not equal to 0. Then P or probability of A, B,
Trial
number
version.
of events in B which are favorable to A over the number of the events
Trial
in B,
version.
which is equal to the number of events of favorable to A intersect
Trial
with
version.
B is equal to the number of events of favorable to B. So,
Trial
mathematically
version.
speaking, or per formula, probability of A
Trial version.
intersect with B is equal to the probability of B.
Trial version.
Continue. So, if PA is equal to 0,
Trial
then
version.
for the 3 events, A, B, C, so dagdag lang, no? Intersect,
Trial
hanggang sa
version.
magdami yung events or tinatawag nating classes and attributes.
Trial version.
Okay? So, nagsimula lang sila sa dalawa, which is here, then dagdagan mo
Trial
na.
version.
Okay? Kung maging 3 or 4 or 5 yung events. Okay?
Trial version.
So, note that 0 if ever mutually exclusive. Then
Trial
PA
version.
is independent. Okay. Conditional probability.
Trial version.
Generalization of conditionality or conditional probability.
Trial version.
Okay. So this is just the same. Probability of
Trial
A
version.
intersect of B or probability of B intersect. Okay? Hindi naman siya difference.
Trial version.
By the law of total probability, so
Trial version.
compliance with it. Okay. So this is the conditional
Trial
probability.
version.
Nakailang probability na ba?
Trial version.
So in general, this is the formula for the conditional probability.
Trial version. Trial version.
Sa unang tingin, mahirap, pero pag in-apply nyo, madali lang pala. Okay? By formula,
Trial version.
dictates, isang tanawon, pero kung i-apply ninyo, okay lang. Okay? Later.
Trial version.
Total probability. Okay, yung total probability is just, you just total all
Trial version.
events or the probability of each event. Okay? The occurrence of each event.
Trial version.
Alam niyo naman to, di ba? Dumaan na kayo ng mathematics in the modern world.
Trial version.
Tackle doon ng probability, statistics, and we have also the probability and statistics.
Trial
Ako
version.
ba ang ano niya? O si Sir Ray?
Trial version. Trial
Okay,
version.
total probability example.
Survey daw.
Sir Ray? Okay.
Trial version.
Total probability. Okay, so example, a bag contains of 4
Trial
red
version.
and 3 black balls. A second bag contains 2 red and 4 black balls. One
Trial
bag is
version.
selected at random. From the selected bag, one ball is drawn. What is the
Trial
probability
version.
that the ball drawn is red? Okay, so the problem can be
Trial
answered
version.
using the concept of total probability. Okay, probability of one first bag and
Trial
probability of the second bag. Okay? Ano ba yun? Paano ba yung probability of the first bag?
Trial version.
We have ilang balls ba? We have 7, right? So 3 over 7 yung
Trial version.
first bag. 3 blacks, 7 kasi 4 din yung red.
Trial
Ay,
version.
ano ba hinahanap? Red. Sorry. 4 over 7. Okay? Then, the other one,
Trial
we
version.
have 4 over 6. So, what is the total probability?
Trial version.
Anyone? Can do math? 2 out of
Trial
6?
version.
Tingnan natin.
Trial version.
Ano ba hinahanap? Red, no?
Trial version.
4. Red. 2. Mali ako. 4 over 7 plus
Trial
2
version.
over 6. Tama? So what is the total
Trial
probability?
version. Trial version. Trial version.
Sana na? Ano yung
Trial
sagot to?
version.
Take two. So the first probability
Trial version.
is red. Okay, 4/7. Then
Trial
we
version.
have also 2/6. Okay, so the sum of this probability.
Trial version.
Okay, so we have here deviation theorem.
Trial version.
Dito na tayo mag-base doon sa ating NV algorithm.
Trial version.
Okay, ito na yung pinagkunan o pinaghugutan.
Trial
ng
version.
ating algorithm. So we have two tables, X and one
Trial version.
prior versus posterior probabilities. This table shows that event 1
Trial version.
has two outcomes. We have A and B, which is independent to another
Trial
event
version.
X with various outcome X sub 1 up to X sub 3. So
Trial
if we
version.
suppose we don't have any information on the event A, then
Trial
from the
version.
given example or the sample space, we can do probability calculating probability
Trial
of
version.
Y is equal to A. Kung ilan yung lalabas na A, ilan bang A dyan?
Trial version.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sa 10. So that is 5 over
Trial
10
version.
is just 1/2 or 0.5. In case 2, suppose we want to calculate
Trial
the
version.
probability of X na lalabas is X2. Ilan bang X2? We have 2 out of
Trial version.
5. Bakit 5 lang man? Yung X2 na mayroong
Trial
A
version.
as Y value. Okay? So ilan dyan? 1,
Trial version.
2, okay? So dalawa lang ang merong X2
Trial
na may
version.
A. And the rest, 5 ang X2. Kaya siya 0.4.
Trial version.
Okay? I hope
Trial version.
I hope you can learn something. Okay? So we have the NB
Trial
classifier.
version.
So input class.
Trial version.
Okay?
Trial
NB
version.
classifier calculate the posterior probability using yung theorem natin kanina, the previous
Trial
theorem.
version.
Then we have the probability of that. So
Trial version.
drawing lang na. Pag yan kasing tignan, parang mahirap. No? Parang
Trial
mahirap.
version.
Pero pag i-calculate nyo, okay lang yan. It's just divide lang. Okay?
Trial
For given
version.
instance, x, say x equal to x. Okay.
Trial version.
Paano mapagbasa ito? Itong bar dito? Itong second
Trial
paragraph.
version.
Probability of y equal to y sub I. Itong
Trial
bar,
version.
paano basahin yan? Kung tinuro sa inyo. Paano basahin yan?
Trial version.
Ito. This one.
Trial version.
Paano basahin ito? Absolute. That is such that.
Trial version.
Okay? Probability of y is equal to y sub I such that
Trial
x
version.
is equal to x. Okay. So this is, anong form ganito ng set?
Trial version.
Sa akin kayo nag-math, di ba?
Trial version.
Tabular. Okay, we have here
Trial version.
example. With reference to air traffic data sets mentioned earlier,
Trial version.
let us tabulate all posterior, and prior
Trial version.
publication. Okay. So, attribute, dalawa lang.
Trial version.
We have day and season. Right? So, we have day and seasons.
Trial
On
version.
time, late, very late. So, output natin or class natin 4. So, we have 1,
Trial
2, 3,
version.
4, 4 lang ang ginawa niya na attributes each sa day at saka sa season.
Trial version.
So, on weekdays, we have 9. Okay.
Trial
Yung
version.
kaninang datasets natin, kung nakuha ninyo,
Trial version.
so yan lang yun. Mamaya. Ito kasi nakalatag na eh.
Trial version.
Okay. So, we have also fog, rain. Anong slide
Trial
ba yun?
version. Trial version. Trial version.
Okay, so NV classifier instance, so week. Ito na yung tanong natin kanina, di ba?
Trial version.
Winter, high, heavy. Weekday, winter, high, heavy.
Trial version.
Weekdays, winter, eto. Weekdays, tapos winter,
Trial version.
then high and heavy. Yung naka-gray.
Trial version.
Yung naka-gray. Yan yung outlook natin. Outlook. Okay?
Trial version.
So, ito na yan. On time, we have 0.0013. On late, we
Trial
have
version.
0.125. On very late, we have 0.2222.
Trial
And
version.
cancel 000. Okay? So, anong lalabas na
Trial
class?
version.
It is very late. Case 3. Kung ano yung pinakamataas,
Trial version.
yun yung classification. Ganun lang. That's the NB classification
Trial version.
or classifier. Okay? So, algorithm NB classification. Okay, so that is just the
Trial version.
formula. Okay? But anyway, pag i-apply nyo na,
Trial version.
nagay na siya. Alright?
Trial version.
So, pros and cons.
Trial version.
Or, in layman's term, advantage and disadvantage.
Trial
Any questions
version.
so far? May tanong?
Trial version.
Wala?
Trial version.
Lisod mo na, sir. Ha, ha, ha.
Trial version.
Atik man ka. Oy, pasado gani ka.
Trial version.
Anyway, itong ginagawa natin,
Trial version.
itong ipapakita, itong workshop natin, although
Trial
mano-mano,
version.
meron ng ano nito, mga, tawag nito?
Trial version.
Software. Na? Meron ng software na siya na mismo
Trial
mag-calculate.
version.
Input mo na lang yung datasets,
Trial version.
tapos ihiwalay mo yung training sets at saka
Trial
yung
version.
test sets. Tapos, yung class
Trial
mo kung
version.
anong gusto mong mangyari or anong gusto mong i-classify. Okay? So, NB
Trial
approach is
version.
very popular. However, it has number of potential
Trial
problems.
version.
It relies on the attributes.
Trial version.
Mamaya, tanongin
Trial
natin.
version. Trial version.
Okay, so, ang nagiging ano lang niya,
Trial
all
version.
attributes being category, or gina-categorize niya kung ano rin. So,
Trial version.
etong disadvantage na ito, or advantage, pwede mo man
Trial version.
tinatawag natin data
Trial
pruning,
version.
Kalimutan ko ano yung term.
Trial version.
Yung limpyuhon nimo ang imuhang
Trial
limpyuhon
version.
nimo ang imuhang data sets.
Trial
Okay.
version.
So, if data sets is less, okay.
Trial version.
This dictates in all algorithm. Kung konti lang yung data sets
Trial
mo,
version.
then konti lang din yung aaralin ng machine learning mo na algorithm.
Trial version.
So, most probably, yung output niya is hindi din ganun ka
Trial
accurate.
version.
So, the more data sets, mas magiging matalino
Trial
yung
version.
machine learning nyo. Tulad din sa inyo, no?
Trial
The more na
version.
binibigay namin, mas magiging marami kayong alam. Tama ba
Trial
ako?
version.
Pero hindi, ang tingin nyo sa amin, pahirap
Trial
eh.
version. Trial
Hindi
version.
pahirap yan ha. Para sa inyo yan. So, approach to overcome limitation.
Trial version.
Okay, so ito na yung para yung pros and cons.
Trial version.
Okay. So just read.
Trial version.
In a real life situation, all attributes are not necessarily category.
Trial
In fact,
version.
there are mixed or both category or continuous attributes. So, pwedeng yung
Trial version.
kalimutan ko ito yung right term. Pwede yung limpyuhon ang inyong datasets.
Trial version.
Kasi maraming outliers. Okay? So, maraming outliers. Yung
Trial
kapag-ipakinabang lang na attributes, yun ang kukunin niya. Right? So, in the
Trial
following,
version.
we discuss schemes. So, again, we
Trial
can
version.
disadvantage of one algorithm can
Trial
be
version.
modified, no? Modified sa
Trial
kaya
version.
nahihirapan kayo sa ano ko, sa doctorate ko kasi ang dissertation
Trial version.
namin kailangan namin mag-modify ng isang
Trial
algorithm.
version.
And hanggang
Trial
ngayon sa
version.
dissertation 1 pa lang ako. Ay, ewan ko. And
Trial
ang
version.
algorithm ko is J48 algorithm.
Trial version.
Okay. So, this is just a formula.
Trial version.
Again, formula lang yan. Ay kahadlok. Pag i-apply na nimo, okay na.
Trial version.
Simple. Estimate, potential
Trial
problem.
version.
Okay. Other.
Trial version.
Okay.
Trial version.
Okay.
Trial
Example.
version. Trial
So
version.
we have here an example.
Trial
How many
version.
attributes? We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Trial
Okay?
version.
These are the data sets of students na
Trial
who
version.
can buy or not a computer. Okay?
Trial version.
So we have attributes, the age, the income, or
Trial version.
student or not, or the credit rating. So under age, we have
Trial version.
1, 2, 3. Okay? Less than or
Trial
equal to
version.
30, we have 31 to 40, or greater than to
Trial
40.
version.
May student pa palang ganyan. Anyway, this is just example.
Trial version.
Okay? Income. We have high, medium, or low. So,
Trial
tatlo.
version.
Then, student or not,
Trial
yes
version.
or no. So, dalawa lang. Credit rating, fair, excellent, fair, excellent,
Trial
fair,
version.
dalawa lang din. Then, the class is, kung makabili ba siya ng computer,
Trial version.
yes or no. So, dalawa. So,
Trial version.
pwede kayo gumawa.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial
Pwede
version.
kayong gumawa.
Trial version.
Hello?
Trial version. Trial version.
Sige daw.
Trial version. Trial version.
How many data sets we have?
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
How
Trial
many?
version. Trial version.
Sige. Isa-isahin natin.
Trial version.
On class, what is the probability that
Trial version.
yes, yung class 1 natin?
Trial version.
How many yes we have? We have 1, 2,
Trial
3,
version.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Trial
9
version.
over 14, right?
Trial version.
9 over 14, so that is equal to
Trial
0.643.
version. Trial version.
Hello? Kahit sa
Trial version.
chat box lang.
Trial version.
Hello?
Trial
Nasundan ba?
version.
9 over 14? That's under yes.
Trial version.
Okay? How about yung no?
Trial version.
No.
Trial version. Trial version.
How about yung no? What is the probability?
Trial version. Trial
Yes
version.
po. What is the probability of no? Yung class no.
Trial version.
That's 5 over 14. Yes.
Trial
5.
version.
4. 5 po, Miss, ano?
Trial
ginawag
version.
niya. 5. Okay? So we have 5.
Trial version.
Okay. How about
Trial
X
version.
such that yung
Trial
age,
version.
magsimula tayo sa age. Attribute.
Trial
Anong
version.
lalabas kaya ng ano? X.
Trial version.
Okay. Ano kaya nito? Makakabili or hindi? So we have to multiply all in all.
Trial version.
First, yung yes lahat. Yung yes. Anong sagot?
Trial version.
Yes lahat.
Trial version.
Yung probability of X such that by computer is equal to yes.
Trial version.
Multiply nyo yung 0.22 times 0.444
Trial
times
version.
0.67 or 67 and another 67.
Trial version.
Anong sagot?
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Wala pa?
Trial version. Trial
Yung
version.
probability lahat ng yes, i-multiply nyo.
Trial version. Trial version.
Ano sagot?
Trial version.
Jinisa? Rigidor?
Trial version.
Yung kanina, yung 2 over 9
Trial version.
times 4 over 9 times 6 over 9
Trial
point
version.
4, okay. 444 ata yan?
Trial
Oh,
version.
baka nag-round off ka na, okay? So that is 0.444. Next, yung no. How about yung no? Probability
Trial
of
version.
X such that by computer is equal to no.
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
Anyone?
Trial version.
Point? Okay. Very good.
Trial
So what
version.
is now the class? Is it yes or not?
Trial version.
Is he or she can buy computer using the attributes of
Trial version.
less than equal 30, medium, student, and fair.
Trial version.
Paano calculate yun?
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial version. Trial
Paano
version.
calculate? Yung kanina, yung bago lang yung ano,
Trial
yung
version.
bago lang yun na solve, yung dalawa. I-multiply ninyo ito sa probability
Trial
ng
version.
by computer, yung class na by computer.
Trial
Ano ba yung
version.
probability ng by computer na yes? Diba? That's 9/14.
Trial version.
O, i-multiply nyo ngayon yan sa yung 0.643
Trial version.
times nyo yung sa previous niyo na di-calculate sa yes. So, that
Trial
0.044.
version.
So, ilan ang sagot niyan?
Trial
Then,
version.
do the same sa sa no.
Trial version.
Excel gamit nyo?
Trial
Calculator?
version.
Or cellphone? Hello?
Trial version. 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 Trial version.
Rachel, ano na? Is it yes or no?
Trial version.
Parang si Rachel lang sumasagot.
Trial
Ano
version.
probability ng yes?
Trial version. Trial version.
Still there?
Trial version.
Okay, how about yung no?
Trial version. Trial version.
How about yung
Trial
no?
version.
Ano gamit mo, Rachel?
Trial
CalCU?
version.
Okay, so base sa sagot ni
Trial
Rigidor, ang mas malaki is yung yes. Okay? So given the attribute
Trial version.
age is equal or calculator sir true form. Kaya pala
Trial
matagal.
version.
Okay, based on given the attribute X, age is less than or equal to 30, income is equal to
Trial
medium,
version.
student is equal to yes, and credit rating is equal to fair. Based on that attribute,
Trial version.
makakabili siya ng computer. Okay? All the calculations
Trial version.
are here. Yeah.
Trial version.
Kita niya? May slide, ano lang to, yung
Trial version.
giran out na nako. So, mas malaki ito. So, the answer is yes.
Trial version.
So, therefore, X belongs to the class by computer is equal to yes. Okay?
Trial
So, ang
version.
tawag natin dito, ito yung outlook natin. Okay? So, pwede niyong palitan ng iba.
Trial
Pwede yung
version.
greater than 40, tapos ito, high, tapos no, tapos gano'n.
Trial version.
The same. Gagawin nyo the same. Ito. Then, after this one, multiply, then, di ba sabi sa inyo,
Trial version.
yung formula, mahirap. Pero pag ginawa mo lang, di-calculate mo lang,
Trial version.
okay lang, natin mo, cellphone lang gamit niya, no?
Trial version.
Okay?
Trial version.
There's only one. And that is the name.
Trial
Sige daw.
version.
Is it male or female? Si Officer Drew.
Trial version.
Can you calculate it?
Trial version. Trial version.
How many Drew na
Trial
male?
version.
Only one.
Trial version.
Ano si Officer Drew?
Trial
Babae o
version.
lalaki?
Trial version. Trial version.
Hello?
Trial version.
Sige na nga, pakita mo na. Okay?
Trial
So,
version.
ito yon. Probability of draw, di ba isa lang yung lalaki? Tapos yung female, dalawa. Okay? So,
Trial
1
version.
over 3 multiplied by 3 over 8 kasi 8 lahat yan siya. Overall,
Trial version.
so 3 over 8, so that is, so mas malaki ang probability na
Trial
si
version.
Drew is a female. So, yan si Officer
Trial
Drew.
version.
Okay? So, she is a female. Yun siya
Trial
kung
version.
isang attribute lang. Madali. What if ganyan
Trial
ang
version.
attribute natin?
Trial version.
How many attributes? We have 1, 2, 3, 4.
Trial version.
4. Name over 100 centimeter, eyes, or
Trial
eye,
version.
hair length. Okay? So, screenshot,
Trial
screenshot,
version.
screenshot. That would be your assignment na lang.
Sa third year, BSIS third
Sa
year.
third
Trial
year
version.
BSIS.
Sa North Valley.
Sa kabilang school, sa North Valley.
Trial version.
Ano kayang kalalabasan?
Trial version.
Okay? So, screenshot
Trial
yan ha.
version.
Pakita ko yung lahat ng yung attributes natin kanina. Close ko muna to. Yung
Trial version.
Yung buo. Buo.
Trial version. Trial version.
Wait.
Trial version. Trial version.
Ay, dito. Saglit lang ha.
Trial version.
Ito ba yan?
Trial version.
Okay.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Ito yun. Ito yun kanina.
Trial version.
So, this is Outlook, no? Lookup table, age, income. So, Outlook.
Trial version.
Yes, yun kanina. Sagot. Then, pag iba naman,
Trial version.
so, evidence, probability. So, we have
Trial version.
30 to 40. Medium, no, fair. Ang sagot is no. Yes. Mga
Trial
kabili pa rin
version.
siya. Then, another here, probability event greater than 40,
Trial
no,
version.
no, fair. So, ang sagot is yes. Then, the last one,
Trial version.
evidence, high, no, excellent. Ang sagot is no.
Cannot dapat
Trial
yung
version.
lista.
Okay? So, madali lang siya kung naka-Excel, no? Kasi copy-paste lang.
Trial version.
And probability lang. Probability lang talaga siya. And magpapakita ko sa inyo.
Trial version.
Dali lang. Close ko muna to.
Trial version. Trial version.
Okay.
Trial version.
So, this activity, kung makakapaglaro ka ba ng tennis
Trial
outside
version.
using all apat na attributes, we have the outlook, temperature, humidity,
Trial version.
windy. Okay? So, can you play or not? This one,
Trial version.
in-apply ko into a software which the Excel stat.
Trial version.
Ito na yun. Okay? So, ito yung kinalabasan. Okay? So, pwede nang hindi na lang kayo
Trial version.
mag-calculate. So, siya na bahala. Okay? So, siya na bahala.
Trial version.
Right? Siya na bahala. Siya na gumawa ng
Trial version.
calculation using Excel stat. Okay? Alright. You can also use
Trial
other
version.
softwares. We have Orange.
Trial version.
Weka. No, Weka. Pwede rin yung Weka. Weka is the most
Trial
widely used
version.
na data mining software.
Trial version.
Okay? So, any questions so far? Any question?
Trial version.
tanong po before
Trial version.
I will turn you over to Sir Mark Abellera.
Trial version.
Did you learn something from me?
Trial version.
Hello?
Trial version.
Thank you.
Did you learn something from me? No?
Trial version. Trial version.
Gamay,
Trial
sir.
version.
Ha, ha, ha. So, sa ato pa, Rojim, nanundog lang
Trial
yun kasi
version.
yung exam. Di ay.
Trial version.
Okay, if wala nang tanong, I will turn you over to
Trial version.
our handsome and pogi master, Master Sir Mark Abellera. Thank you all. Thank you.
Trial
Thank you.
version.
Thank you for your time, for listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Trial version.
Okay. Thank you, Sir Ronald, for that brilliant
Trial version.
explanation about data mining, no? Particularly on the Naïve-based algorithms. So, probably
Trial
ang mga
version.
third year, hopefully kung makapasa, no? Ano siya ang subject ninyo
Trial
for
version.
next sem. Then, surely some of our students will now be enlightened and hopefully be more
Trial
motivated in becoming a data scientist, kasi yun yung tawag sa nila. Okay, so before we
Trial
end this
version.
activity this morning, I would like to thank our speakers, Sir Jerry and Sir Ronald,
Trial
for
version.
imparting us your knowledge.
Trial version.
On your topics, no? We are indeed astounded and very enlightened on both
Trial version.
those topics, the system administration and learning some concepts
Trial version.
in
Trial version.
on data mining and how kumbaga information overload ang nangyayari sa inyo
Trial
ngayon, no?
version.
So sige lang. So this afternoon wala tayong since na-compress
Trial
natin
version.
siya into half day. So what I'm requiring you to do is for those who attended our webinar,
Trial version.
no, I really appreciated your time and your efforts in coming. And I do hope that it enlightens your path
Trial
and your
version.
career after you finish your courses. So I would just like to request that you will fill out the
Trial
assessment
version.
form or the survey form that I will be giving you later on. No, ipasa na ko siya diri sa
Trial
chat box
version.
ninyo kaning diri karon kay wala man tay isa ka command box pang good, or instead of email kay mo man gud akong basis
Trial
lang, no, kani akong basis kaning attendance karon, no, not the registration but the
Trial version.
assessment or survey forms akong basis sa hatagan sa
Trial
certificates.
version.
Okay? So, actually, wala na ako nakuha, no? Kay
Trial version.
maghatag pa akong certificate on the two speakers. Particularly kay Sir
Trial
Jerry and kay
version.
Sir Ronald. Pero naman gud sa Picas laptop. So, again, instruction na ako
Trial
is
version.
just fill out this survey form. Wait lang ha, pangitaon sa na ako ang form.
Trial version.
Ipasa na po siya diri sa chat box. Kindly click na lang. No? Tapos,
Trial version.
mga siguro 4 to 5 days mahatag na po ang inyong certificates kay kailangan pa
Trial
na po
version.
siya signatures coming from our president.
Trial
I have
version.
also here Miss Ana Luz Gutierrez, no? My colleague in
Trial
Masters
version.
in Information Technology, no? Ma'am, good morning po. Pero pa-end naman good ang discussion.
Trial version.
No? Sakto lang yun. Nga nahuman ang discussion, ma'am. Okay, thank you, ma'am, for coming. Pero
Trial version.
sige lang, makuha lang gyapon ito certificates. Thank you, ma'am. And then, ganito lang, no? Instructions na
Trial
ako
version.
from different schools, from 2 schools actually, from NV North Valley and
Trial
MIST.
version.
And together with Ma'am and the other faculties, Ma'am Ana Luz,
Trial version.
mamalihog na lang ko, Ma'am. Fill out na lang atong, ano to?
Trial version.
Survey form. Again, yun yung basis natin for
Trial version.
giving the e-certificates. Okay? So, that concludes our program.
Trial version.
This morning's event. Actually, hope dapat gani, whole day siya. Pero since na-compress agad natin, so, better.
Trial
No?
version.
Kay, I know, some of you, daghan pa pugkuan. Hi, ma'am.
Trial version.
Okay? So, again, thank you sa tanan nga nag-attend. This will not be the
Trial
last
version.
na seminar that I'll be conducting. Pero, siguro by next
Trial version.
week, I'll be conducting another webinar regarding on
Trial version.
the programming, no? Java programming. So, mara siya crash course lang.
Trial
So, that will be
version.
intended for the first year students kay concepts lang man akong ma-discuss adto.
Trial version.
Okay? So, wait lang ha, kadil lang gyud kay kuwaon lang ito na ako ang
Trial version.
katong survey form. Wait lang gyud.
Trial version.
Nasa to. Survey form.
Trial version. Trial version. Trial version.
Okay. So, kindly check the survey form daw. Pakiclick na lang daw. Any one of you.
Trial version.
Okay, thank you po, Drodgem, no? Thank you, North Valley.
Trial
And
version.
thank you, MIST. Thank you po, Ma'am Ana Luz. And the other faculty and staff sa MIST.
Trial version.
Thank you kayo. So, paki-kuan lang, I just want a confirmation lang kung tama ba niya akong nasan
Trial
nga link
version.
sa kuan sa survey form. So, just fill out this form, tapos, again, 4 to 5
Trial
days,
version.
I'll be giving you the certificates kay ipakuan pa nako, papirmahan pa nako, or
Trial
napapirmahan
version.
pero pangitaon pa to na akong signatures sa uban ninyo nga kuan, sa ubang signatories.
Trial version.
Okay? So, okay na ba? Kinsay naka-check?
Trial version.
Che, nakuha ni mo? Nakita
Trial
dito?
version.
Okay, ma'am. Sige, ma'am. Thank you kayo. Okay? So, sige. Mag-lunch na ta?
Trial version.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you sa response. Thank you, Jem. Bro, Jem, thank you po.
Trial
Sige.
version.
You can now, or you are now free to go. Thank you, ma'am.
Trial version.
Sige po. So, i-end na to ha,
Trial
ang
version.
ang meeting. Thank you.